The People's Republic of Bangladesh won independence from West Pakistan in 1971 and is the 7th most populous country in the world. Bangladesh's thriving population centres along the banks of the Buriganga River in its energetic capital city Dhaka, where over 12 million inhabitants are located. It has a rich cultural heritage with descendants linking China, Tibet and the Indian subcontinent. Most promising of all, Bangladesh is earmarked as one of the next 11 economies to achieve industrialised status. Unfortunately, this push for industrialisation comes at a terrible human cost. Safety on the roads and in the workplace is far below accepted standards in the West, and spinal injuries are common. In Sava, 24 kilometres northwest of Dhaka, there is a charity working with victims of spinal injuries known as CRP, the Centre for the Rehabilitation of the Paralysed. Founded by Valerie Taylor, the charity has been in operation for over 30 years and recently celebrated its anniversary.
This time of year, fruit picking season, the mangoes are ripe, we get an enormous glut of spinal injuries falling from fruit trees. We are so sad when the day comes and we have to turn somebody away, because we know it leads to almost certain death. They have virtually no chance to survive with a spinal injury if they go home.
After prolonged periods of lying alternately supine and prone, the body must slowly be readjusted to adopt a more purposeful, seated position with the help of nursing staff and therapists at CRP. After this, the patient is made accustomed to the use of a wheelchair and back brace. Slowly, patients begin to power themselves independently for the first time since their admission to CRP. For those whose spinal injuries result in incomplete damage, the next stage is to re-educate the patient in walking with the aid of parallel bars. From here they learn to walk with the aid of walking sticks or a frame. Halfway House is a dedicated facility within the grounds of CRP, designed to immerse rehabilitated patients back into a community that will mirror their own villages, while still providing the care of CRP nursing staff where necessary. Here, patients and their families can learn how to adapt to everyday life, how to handle practical considerations, such as washing and drying clothing, and they can practice how to overcome the difficulties associated with transferring between beds and wheelchairs. The demands placed on CRP for wheelchairs is significant. Fortunately, CRP has its own workshop in which custom-made models are built with a durability and sturdiness designed for Bangladesh's off-road experience. The final and most anticipated stage for any patient is the trip home. CRP maintains strong ties with its former patients so that it can assess and, where possible, aid their reintegration into the community. Benoy was a truck driver, injured when a vehicle he was working on collapsed, crushing him beneath it and paralysing him from the waist down. Now Benoy runs a small store in his local village, selling food and drinks to his neighbours. Without the aid of CRP, Benoy's future would have been extremely bleak, but his rehabilitation has garnered him with new skills which he needs to survive and prosper in his community. Preventable accidents like Benoy's are not uncommon. In fact, the most significant cause of spinal injury in Bangladesh is entirely avoidable. Across the country, the traditional method to carry heavy weights on the head is still employed. During heavy rain, it can become very easy to lose footing, and the weight of a shifting head load becomes too much for any neck to control. The fumes that pollute much of Bangladesh seep from the brick factories that abound. It is these heavy loads that cause many of the most devastating breaks. The alternatives for those who do not receive treatment at CRP are unfortunately clear to see. But with your help, children like Amrita never have to face these prospects in the future. There is someone at CRP to help them take the first step forward, even when the obvious fear makes them reluctant to do so. On CRP's donated ground, there is still land to be cleared, wards to be developed, and manually operated machinery to be implemented.
CRP is too small to give treatment and rehabilitation to all the spinal injuries needing this help. So for a number of years now, we've talked about the need for starting small satellite centres, hopefully in orthopaedic wards of government medical college hospitals where the acute care can take place.
There are already a number of stars helping Valerie with her work, whether it's talented artists such as Ibrahim, or Paralympic table tennis players like Abdul Motin. Everyone at CRP has something valuable to contribute. The Education Centre at the William and Mary Taylor School helps children to respond proactively to their disabled classmates, removing the stigma so often associated with paralysis and demonstrating how self-sufficient spinal injury patients can really become. CRP is a growing charity, a family, helping those with spinal injuries to help themselves. Donors around the world have enabled CRP to progress to this point since commencing its work in 1979. We now look to our supporters once again as CRP embarks on the next 30 years.